Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. It is official. We have been doing this, well, at least reviewing anime anyway, for 10 years now.
For too long.
10 years
A
down
full
the
third
drain.
of my fucking life.
As we have been staring down our 41st season of anime here, summer 2022, I'm
don't
starting
put it
to
like
wonder
that.
how we've made it 10 years. To be fair, I do feel like while I don't know if I'm going to end up watching more than 2 or 3 shows this season, there are probably a lot of things that aren't bad and just like not my cup of tea, perhaps.
I would say, based on the evidence of an episode or two, this is perhaps an average to above average season so far.
What?
I don't know. I would not characterize it as above average.
Oh, I would say average at best.
Yeah.
I am watching 3 50-episode Yoshiyuki Tomino anime right now because
Right,
I have nothing else to watch
okay.
this season.
But that's because you're clinically insane. It's got nothing to do with the actual season.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about that in a second. Let's just introduce everybody. I'm Jel. I'm joined by Iro,
I'm not dead yet.
still with us. We've got G.
Like how Gundam took my life. My son. The GLORIO took my life.
Yep.
It cannot be forgiven for that.
Cannot be forgiven.
Is this a Gundam reference? Because those go over my head.
Yes, apologies. It's just screenshots of the Gundam Witch from Mercury prologue episode have been floating on the internet.
I've not had a
And
chance.
Okay.
the most prominent screenshot that's coming
now it's coming back
is
to me.
a shot of protesters protesting against Gundam with a sign in the protest saying "Gundam took my child."
Okay.
Very good, very good.
Oh,
Yes.
is that the angle that are going to be going with that?
Oh man.
All right.
Here's
find
the
out.
thing. It's not subbed yet, so all Western fans can really do is just like look for screenshots of the raws and try to decipher it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll be a topic for next season, right?
Next season, that's correct.
So, anyway, yes. So we have arrived at our.
Wait, am I chopped
That's
liver
it,
or
yeah.
something?
I guess
Oh,
he
yes.
is.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry, Zig.
And I broke out my classy glass bottle of Mountain Dew for this episode too.
I apologize. You were already talking before. I was already in the mood. I was in the zone. But
It's
yes,
true. You
we're
cannot
joined
stop
by
me
Zig.
from talking.
Yes, Zig and his fancy Mountain Dew are here with us.
True. Yes.
So, but yes, we're due to the timing of the podcast, we're actually 2 and even 3 episodes in on some of the shows for this season. Of course, we've had all of our written first looks up, so you can go check those out. But before we get too much into the new shows, I was thinking about, I'm kind of down on this season. Not a whole lot I'm watching, and I started reminiscing about what things were like in summer 2012 when we started the blog.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
Sort of online.
And I was wondering,
Wasn't that the year after?
No.
are things actually worse than they were in 10 years
baby.
ago? So I guess you could call this a game that I would like to play here before we start.
So I
Okay,
would
okay.
immediately like to offer the disclaimer that we did not first look the terrible isekai animes that came out this season, like the Slave Harem Dungeon one,
Yes.
Yeah.
which I thought about doing but then decided not to bother
Yeah,
with.
I think.
So,
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Let's do this first, and then we can.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
we can cover
We
up later.
can fully judge the current season after my little game here, if you'll indulge me. So
Of course.
I'm going to read off titles from summer 2012.
2012.
Okay.
And first of all, you guys can tell me if you even remember it.
Uh-huh.
and I just want your real gut reactions as I read the titles here. So
Yes.
I'm going by order of popularity here on AnyChart.net.
Oh my.
Shout out to them.
Oh boy.
So number 1, of course, Sword Art Online.
Of course, yeah. It was
Not much to say
the
about
dominant
Yeah,
anime
it
of
was
the time. Yeah.
the big dog on campus of
We have
2012.
said a lot of things about Sword Art Online.
Yes.
Boy, have we.
Start off with a
Yeah.
bang here.
The progenitor of a trend in anime that still has not gone away.
Okay,
10 years
if
later.
you'll forgive me a brief tangent, I was
Okay.
talking to some people from the, let's say, Western writer sphere earlier today, and they went on a big thing about about the lit RPG genre and how actually this is really interesting. You see, if like it's like literature, but it's like an RPG. They have character levels and stuff. It's a new trend, and also the progression genre, which you may know as Shansha, but Western version, and I was just collapsing into my chair.
Okay, so here's the
and-
thing, right? Like,
Right.
Impact's still being felt to this day.
The thing we need to realize is that all of us here are like dangerously terminally online,
Yeah,
and thus way too plugged into the going-ons of our little sphere of media.
right.
And the
We
moment
are
you step
inside a bubble.
It
Inside a
felt
bubble.
like I stumbled across a sewage leak.
Yes, and that is the thing, is the moment you step outside of it, you realize, yes, that's a great example. We live in the septic tank, and whenever we come out of it, we see that only a little bit of it leaks out at a time, right? So you see these, you see these normies, so to speak,
Oh boy.
lapping up the puddle of sewage that's leaking from the outside.
And we're like, wait, no,
And
stop.
They're going, nom 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 nom. Ooh, lit RPG. How innovative. And we who just got out of the septic tank are like, what are you doing?
Stop.
That's
no.
coming out of a septic tank.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They just
continue.
don't know. They don't know.
Yes.
It's,
Let's power through
Yes.
some of these other ones.
I think one of them might listen to this podcast, so hello.
Huh?
Go ahead. Yes.
What was that?
Nothing. No, continue.
Okay. Kokoro Connect. Remember that one?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That was one of those shows I feel like me 10 years ago enjoyed it, and me now probably would not enjoy it.
Is
Oh,
that
that's-
the
that-
one?
that was like
Body
the-
swapping.
Yeah.
It starts with body swapping, but then other stuff
Okay,
happens.
wait,
later.
wait. Is
I
that-
remember
is that
people
the-
losing their fucking minds because
That's
the
the,
Sawashiro
the-
character looked directly at
yes.
the camera and said, "I masturbate to
Yeah,
you."
Yes,
you
that's
beat
the
me
I
to it,
Masturbate to
Eero. I was
You
gonna say, is
anime.
that the one with the screenshot? Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
yep.
I guess we're just remembering anime through their memes. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the DNA of the
DNA
soul.
of the soul.
Then we have.
God.
So I can't play H. Remember that one?
No.
Yep.
No.
I actually do remember that one.
If you if you say the title, I say that's sure a thing we did at one point, and
Yeah,
that's
that-
the
that
end
sure is
of
an anime,
my
but-
recognition.
The worst anime that I personally watched in the GLORIO era, Aesthetica
Oh.
of Rogue Hero.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's the punch,
which
one,
we have
isn't it?
referenced recently.
that's the
That's
punch
the one
one.
where the main dude punches all the girls in
Oh,
the stomachs that they
that
piss
one.
themselves, and then he has sex with his sister.
I'm
You know
sorry,
what? Maybe
just
we
every
have
time
made
the-
some
It's been
progress.
10 years.
Every time the synopsis of that show comes up, it's the funniest fucking shit in the world because it sounds like a parody. Like, it sounds like the type of mean-spirited parody of an anime that, like, GTA would invent. like in GTA 6, you're gonna be, like, driving your car and listening to a podcast, and, like, their fake Crunchyroll, which is gonna be called, like, Crappy Roll or
Yeah.
something, will have an
Right.
ad for an anime with
Yeah.
exactly that
I've
that
banned
synopsis.
news for you, G. There's already a fake anime in GTA 4, so
Yeah.
Well, shit. Wait, where?
I hear you though. It
it's
sounds
on, like,
it sounds
the radio
like
and TV ads.
it sounds like if you were
Oh, okay.
trying to write a parody of a bad anime, that's what it would be. And no, it's
Yeah.
real.
All right.
Oof.
Campione, I know you guys are not going to remember.
Oh
that
no,
one.
I remember a little
I
too
remember
much
the
about
name.
Campion. So
Yeah, it's about like some.
that was a harem show. This dude gets the powers of a god and goes around killing all the other gods or something.
Man, how
and he
little
collects, like,
things
a ha-
change.
He collects like a harem of girls that fight for him, and
The
Uh-huh.
more
Yeah,
things change, the more
Uh,
they stay the
Say
Could
the
these
same.
girls
same.
perhaps be leveraged into some sort of popular mobile game?
Whoa.
yeah, it was pre. There's the well, I guess
Before
the
those
early-
days?
it was not. It was before the days where everything got turned into a gacha.
Right.
It would definitely have been
Those days was still just Puzzle Dragon.
Yeah. Yes, the ambition of Oda Nobuna, the era of the gender swap to Sengoku.
Wait, Nobuna or Nobunaga?
Nobuna.
Nobuna.
She was gender swapped.
Yes, that's what they
I
call
recall
the gender
this.
swapped.
Do
version
not
of-
remember that one.
I remember
I only remember two Nobunaga-based shows. One's Nobunaga the Fool, and the other is Nobunagan. All the other Nobunaga shows can leave.
Did Nobunaga
Alright.
show up in Sengoku Basra?
He does
Of course,
as
he's Wakamoto. Yeah.
as a like 50-foot tall. Well,
Right,
okay, he's not
right.
normally 50 feet tall. He's normally
Yes,
a normal
but-
human size, but he can shapeshift.
Yes.
Sure. Yep. Okay.
It's
Also, he's Norio Wakamoto.
Yes.
finally a good show. Humanity has declined.
Oh hell yeah.
That's the one with the bread.
Yeah,
yes, that's
with
the
Love
Glorio
Chat.
Legend.
Classic.
Okay.
Yes.
The cursing chickens.
I'll be honest,
Yes.
I could never get into that one. Like I remember back when we were all y'all were watching
Yeah.
it, and I watched like a few episodes, and I was like,
I
I don't know
admired
about
it
this
for the
one.
distance.
It's super bizarre.
I
Yeah,
like the
go back
idea.
and go back and check out our oral history of
I
Glorio. We
read
talk
an
about
article recently about the author of the original novels Humanity Has Declined, and how like he writes extremely bizarre shit, and
okay.
back in the day in like the early eroge scene wrote a bunch of bizarre shit that like
Yes.
Urobuchi and Nasu and everyone else in that scene cite as like a major influence.
that. Yeah,
Interesting.
he did
So what
write
you-
some influential eroge from way back when. Yes.
So you're saying if he
Um,
had been 10 years later, he would have been like a global megastar, basically.
I mean,
Hey,
as
you know,
much
sometimes
as
it happens.
Right, but he's
those
kind
other
of like
names.
one of the guys from that scene that did not break into the West, unlike Urobuchi and Nasu. So,
Right. The original Rakugo anime, Joshi Raku.
God,
Right.
I remember that from there's the joke where they're animating us so much, even though there's nothing
Yes.
to animate.
There were a couple good jokes. I wouldn't say that show is good, but there were a couple good jokes in that. The eternal Glorio example of a D-list or C-list average anime, Love, Election, and Chocolate.
Holy fuck!
No, I don't remember that one.
No,
at all.
I definitely remember there were certain members of this blog who like carried a torch for that show in
I believe it.
disproportionate, like,
Yes.
levels.
I seem to
There's different
recall
times back then.
that was based on an eroge. I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Back when
Well, it's
those
on
were still a
it's a
thing.
visual novel. I don't remember, but yeah. And of course, Bimbogami Ga / Good Luck
Oh,
Oh
Girl.
wow, that was that season. Okay.
Yeah.
As endorsed by Gel.
As I have not shut up
Citing,
about 10 years
citing
later.
your blog on Japanator.
Yeah, which is pretty fucked up, but hey. In hindsight, is Binbogami Ga the start of your love affair with the dirtbag anime comedy?
I think it was always in my heart, but that's
I
when
feel
realized.
Sure,
I feel like the
but
real
yes.
start of that is Ixion Saga D2.
Well, that's not till next season.
Right, but I'm
Yes.
saying like that is when it blossomed into a full-on thing.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
Yuri season 2. Remember that show?
No.
Nope.
It's
I'm
like
fairly
a-
certain I reviewed that show and I don't remember it.
Yeah, that was Doga Kobo when they were still making comedies.
A
and,
bygone era.
There were some
When
good.
they were still good.
There were some
The furtive Doga Kobo, so easily forgotten.
There were some good visual gags in that. I'll give them that.
Yeah, like
Doug Kobol's
there
way
was
more
nothing
like
wrong
I
with
don't
it at
know,
all.
the Healing Church or some shit.
All right, here we
Oh,
go.
I thought you were gonna say
Descended
Doga
into
Kobo.
madness.
Doga Kobo is the dung eater, but
Here we go.
Give it to me.
Naka Emo, my little sisters among them.
God,
Is that
what?
the I Heart Emoto T-shirt show?
No.
No, that was
this
that
was the
like a
one
year or
where
two ago.
that was Oni I.
Yeah, this was he goes to a school with a bunch of girls and has to marry one of them. But one of them is his sister, and he doesn't know which one it is.
Jill,
Honestly,
this
you
How
joke
do we
is-
ever do this for
this,
10 years?
This joke isn't funny anymore. You can't just keep making
I'm just
up
like
anime.
I'm just like pummeling you into the ground here.
Yeah,
You can't just keep,
that is like
like-
that is like an anime Mad Libs. Like
You need
could've-
to. You need to.
you could have said this was
Gotta
any
step up your
number
game.
of bad sister shows that we.
Jill,
could
you
have
need to start saying some real anime soon, or else this joke doesn't work anymore.
You know what's crazy is like I actually remember all of these.
God.
Tari Tari, the early days of the PA Works.
Yeah, I was going to say that is like one of the original
wow.
PA Works shows.
Yes.
That's not the ocean one.
No, this is like the
No, that's a
singing
horse
club
riding
one.
one.
No, it was a singing club.
I was say
Wasn't
the
there a
ocean
horse
one.
involved?
Was that
The ocean
post
one
there
was
was
like
no
6
horses
seasons ago.
immediately involved. There might have been like an episode with a horse, but it was not about horses.
Was that after
feel like-
Hanasaki Roha or
Yes, Hanasaki Roha is like ground zero for the
right?
Yes,
I
that's
feel
when
like
they started.
Tari
like,
did not really stick with me. Like, I mean, even Hanasaka Roha, I kind of had problems with. I feel like it wasn't till Shirobako where I finally kind of clicked with the
But
PA Works.
After Tari Tari was like what, Nagi no Asukara or something.
I don't remember, but
Shit,
I do
man.
remember Tari Tari because I didn't like the show, but they had like one girl on there that deserved to be on a better show.
Ain't that
And then
a
And that's
recurring
the
theme in
story,
anime?
Yeah.
the first show we ever reviewed, Kingdom.
Uh huh.
Nothing
Well,
else to
guess
say
good
about that.
news. 10 years
Woo!
later, the
Yeah,
still
Kingdom
going.
season
Running.
4 is out.
Still running
Yes.
strong.
It's airing literally
It's not all
this
CG
season.
anymore.
And it's not all CG. So it is the rare all CG disaster that somehow reverse coursed.
Went
Right.
back to traditional anime. I know you guys are not going to remember La Storia della Arcana Famiglia, so we'll just skip
Wasn't
one.
that a Gainax?
No, it was like a. It was.
No,
it was
you're
like one of
thinking
the.
of
It was like an
Which
Otome
one?
game.
I'm thinking of
thing.
Dantalian.
Yes,
maybe.
that was
Right.
Gainax. Yep.
Yeah.
That was pre-GLORIO era.
Shit.
Dog Days season 2.
I know
Okay.
a person who swears up and down the Dog Days rules.
I think the character designs are kind of cute. That's it. You know, I got nothing. Was season 2 the one?
That team currently doing the sports thing this season.
Extreme Hearts, which I should
Extreme
really like
Hearts.
something on. Was season 2 the one where like they got in a bunch of trouble for that really pornographic transformation sequence?
I think so. Yeah.
Anime can get in trouble for that?
It was pretty bad. Like,
Yeah, it was.
mean,
it was like, yeah, they were laying it on
truly
real
another
thick on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Natsuyuki Rendezvous. Anybody remember that one?
That's the
What?
Wishing Rock, and not.
No.
right.
That's
No?
That's Natsuhiro.
Fuck.
something.
ugh.
This,
They both
this
start
was
with
like
Natsu,
a.
okay?
This was like a
Wait, the
moody,
Wishing Rock- The Wishing Rock one was the
Natsuhiro
one which had
Kiseki,
like
right?
Aki Toyasaki and like all the
Yeah,
members
there was
of
Sphere.
the band she
It-
yeah, Sphere.
Yes. It was the actress / idol group Sphere voicing that. Yes.
Anyway, that is not
Um,
the show we're talking.
That is not this show. This was like a moody josei thing that was
Sure.
like, up
We
to some
probably would
grace.
be really into it these days, to be honest. Yeah.
This one stings. Muv Love Alternative Total Eclipse.
Hey.
The original Hate Watch.
Love, Love.
I-
Total
I-
Eclipse was already 10 years too late when it arrived, and now 10 years later, it is still too late.
Yeah, Muv Love Alternative season 2 next season.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
no.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Yep.
God.
I guess we'll throw in Pokemon Black and White Rival Destinies.
Sure, whatever.
Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere season 2.
Oh
You
my
guys remember that
God.
show?
I remember the
It's
name.
best. It's best that you don't.
Vaguely.
Hakuoki was another Otome game which actually went on to be pretty popular. Utakoi, which was like the collection of like old Japanese poems turned into anime, and it had the like wildly inappropriate ED by Sold Out.
Right.
Sold out rolls.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to Soul
I'm waiting
Bells.
for you to hurt me, Joe. Hurt me.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to C-list mecha anime Lagrange, the Flower of Renee season
wow.
2.
I remember
Oh,
the name
man.
of that thing and nothing else about
Vaguely.
it. Like
And
first
then-
I thought about Guilty Crown, then I thought about all of these like mecha shows
Bloody
blurred together
Complex.
in my head.
This was
Yeah.
like so this was actually like it was a cast of girls on this
Right, it was the
one.
girls and the
Sure,
robots,
yeah.
right? It was like a turquoise robot. I kind of
Yeah,
remember.
it was
like,
okay. It was all right.
Yeah.
It's a C-list mecha anime. I'm gonna call it. Although they did make it into Robot Wars,
Looks
didn't
like
they?
this
at
was
some
a
point?
Zebek production.
I'm not Did Lagrange make it into Super Robot Wars?
I don't
Look,
think
if
so.
Knights and Magic can make it into Super Robot Wars, they'll take anything.
Knights and Magic is relatively
Yes, but
popular,
you would be surprised, like
I
that, you
know.
know, like because of rights things. It's not like
Yeah.
every mecha is eventually a lock for
Yeah.
SRW, but
Couple of quick hitters of shows that were continuing from the previous season at that
Hyoka,
point.
right?
Hyoka, of course.
Yep.
So there's something good.
sure.
I should probably go back and give that another chance.
Kuroko's Basketball
Oh,
that
wow.
was starting its huge.
I mean, it was huge.
Yeah,
Like
another-
Kuroko's Basketball was
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
Another titan of its time.
Excel World, the alternative to Sword Art Online, if you remember that. The other thing written by that guy.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
that thing,
Axel. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
the one
thing
that
was
was not
flared
nearly as
brightly and
popular.
faded.
Yeah, it was popular at the time, but then
Yeah,
Sword
no,
Art
but
Online
just
stole
sort of
its,
just fell off a cliff. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
everyone moved on.
Funnily enough, I believe he wrote that after Sword Art Online.
Right, yeah, the timing was weird. But it only came out like a season before it, right? But Space Brothers.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
Space Bros. Space
Holy
Brothers
moly,
is pretty
that's
good.
still running, isn't it? The
What?
manga.
Oh yeah, yes, I
Yes,
think so.
the anime is not, right?
Plenty
Yeah,
of people I know who I think highly of, and also G think Space Brothers is pretty good. So
Yeah.
Hey,
Shots
look,
fired.
I got a soft spot for anything about going to space, you know, especially when it's a more hard sci-fi or
Boy
grounded.
has the right to dream.
Yes. You know, again, an early anime for me that starred like an adult protagonist who
Yeah.
clearly did not have his shit together.
Yeah.
Um,
A regular
lot of-
Ricky.
yeah, a lot of Kotetsu energy there.
Yeah. The most important show on this list, Polar Bears Cafe.
Man.
Zig, you wanted me to hurt you.
Yeah, hurt me.
Eureka 7.
Hey!
Eureka 7 Owl.
Eureka 7.
The,
Boy.
probably the worst show on this list, worse
Yep.
than the dude
Whoa.
punching women and pissing themselves.
Whoa.
So.
It's definitely the biggest disappointment, for sure. You know, just the expectations.
Did
So-
Daisato write that?
No.
Oh.
I'm not sure. Somebody's going to have to look that up.
I'll look it up.
I
Yeah,
refuse
I
to believe that show had a writer.
That's giving
Eureka
you too much
7
credit.
AO had
A great
a
opening.
really great opening,
Yeah,
and
that's
Yeah,
There
it's-
are multiple writers listed here, and none of
Oh,
them
that's never a
as
good
chief
sign.
writer.
we don't have to litigate this, but I just
That's
don't.
fair.
Every time, Bones could be Sunrise 2. Like, they could be the second pillar of hand-drawn mecha animation.
They don't have enough,
But
to be Sunrise 2, they would have to have some in-house storytelling talents, and they
But
just
that's
don't.
the problem. They have like I have watched. So you know the new Eureka 7 movie came out recently, right? And so I just watched a couple of I just looked up the fight scenes on
Yeah.
YouTube because that's all I care about at this point. They look really good.
Yeah.
Like they're really impressive, like rivaling like Sunrise's like Gundam film
I
production.
mean, the best Macross missile since Macross.
Yeah, but again, it's all this talent is being wasted on some of the worst scripts imaginable.
So
Yeah.
as a 10th anniversary thing, before we decided that we were just gonna keep it relatively low key, I thought about going back and doing an episode by episode write up of Eureka 7 now again.
No, don't do
Why
it.
would no?
Don't do
That's
it.
not
For your
worth
own-
it.
for your own
so
sanity.
I've looked it up.
As a
in the-
friend, let me try and stop you from doing that.
The writer who wrote the most episodes of Eureka 7 AO also wrote Legend of the Overfiend and Kamen Rider Blade.
Kamen Rider Blade was alright.
Is that one of the good ones? I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Don't forget Legend of the Overfiend 2, Legend of the Demon Womb.
All right. Well, we can't get into the
Okay. All right. We gotta
Anyway,
move
Eureka
on.
7 now fucking sucks.
Yes.
And it is ultimately responsible for the fact that everything attached to that brand has sucked since.
Eureka
basically.
7 will never recover.
Yeah.
Ouch.
One last thing I'm going to put on this list. Another one of my, another one of my cult favorites, and yet another gender swapped Sengoku era show, Sengoku Collection.
Oh, God.
Possibly the last weird thing Brains Base made,
Huh.
where they did the. Well, I think it was supposed to. It was
So
actually
pre or
was a
post
mobile
Penguin Drum.
Yes.
post
2011.
Penguin Drum. it was supposed to be like a mobile game adaptation, but rather than try to do anything involving the game, they made an episodic series where they took one character and then spun that into like some kind of movie parody, basically.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I do recall this. It was super weird.
Certainly weird and interesting. Let's put it that way. I enjoyed it.
In my mind, Brain Space made Penguin Drum and then immediately ceased to exist. So,
right.
Yes.
They did Bakuno and Tarara.
So that's summer 2012, folks.
Gosh.
And we have somehow survived.
How did we survive?
Yeah. What was the best show there? Space Brothers, I guess.
Opinions.
I mean,
opinions.
yeah,
may
for
vary
me, it's
on
probably Space Brothers. Like the rest of this is like a pretty dire list, honestly. Like there's, I think I even recall around that
Hyoka,
time.
I think the safe pick is Hyoka. I mean, you all know what my pick is, but
I definitely remember being pretty dim on anime in
general
around this time period. Like I think. Just like I think in general, I was just like looking at what was coming out in 2012 and going, man, this is all dog shit. Like I think was JoJo 2012?
2013.
That's the next season after that.
Oh,
JoJo
okay,
started.
no.
Okay, so that's probably about like nature. Anime began healing when JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I think we might. I'm thinking about playing this game again next season to parallel our first full year.
Goodness.
So
fair, sure, why not?
Maybe we'll talk about that next season.
I seem to recall, like at the end of 2012, we had a pretty good list of shows. So
there's some good stuff in the first half. Anyway,
yeah.
Oof.
All right,
that's for 10 years ago. What about right now?
Yes, there's your blast from the past, and here we are in summer 2022, and
the coldest summer for the rest of our lives.
Well.
No, I don't want to.
About that.
I don't want to entertain that sentiment in even the slightest.
Yes. All right.
Speaking of ice cold.
So again, I'm just gonna remind.
Gel's walking right over that.
I didn't even hear what you said on that one.
No, that's probably for the best.
Okay, just keep going.
Yes, like I said, you can check out all of our written first looks for a lot more shows on the blog. We generally only pick the shows that we're going to continue watching, or if they are uniquely bad and we feel like they're worth talking
we're forced
about.
to.
Yeah, if we find it's worth talking about. So, let's start with some of the what we're calling returning shows. We were debating this before we started recording, but start with RWBY Ice Queendom. This was of course the traditional anime remake / new story for RWBY. I was curious about this because I never watched RWBY because I hated the art, and when I heard it was Shaft doing it, who love them or hate them, they tend to have very unique.
They have a look.
A unique look to things. I thought, okay, I'm kind of curious what this is all about. And let me say, as someone who has never watched RWBY that tried to watch this, don't bother.
Wow.
That's basically what Artemis said.
Shots
right?
fired.
And even if you have watched RWBY, you might it still might not give you anything out of this. But as someone who had no idea what was going on, they don't make very much effort in trying to explain much. I should say
that's true to the source material.
I should say, so to be more specific, it is. I watched the first episode, which is really 3 episodes, so it's over an hour long.
Right, a triple length.
And the beginning of what would be like the first episode, is like, okay, this kind of makes sense. It's a little rushed, but I'm with you. And then after that, it just becomes like barely comprehensible. They're trying to cram in like seasons worth of content into an hour, basically.
Right. My understanding is like they have to recap like literally the first 2 seasons of the original version. Or something.
And it's like if they had, I feel like if they had maybe framed this as a recap and like maybe threw in a little narration in between things, at least I could like get the gist of the story. But they just present it as everything. What was that?
There you go. There's a throwback for you. There's a 10-year blast from the past. Move on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if they had framed it as like a recap and like threw in a little narration to explain things, it might have, like, I could have at least like figured out what was going on. But they just like plow through it with no explanation, and like the one scene in particular stuck out to me that was like hilarious. They introduced like the one male character who's like on the other team, I guess, and within like 5 minutes they're at this very dramatic scene where he's dying and they have to rescue him. And like I could see how if you had been watching for like 2 seasons this would be like an intense, like powerful moment, but because I just met this guy like 5 minutes ago, I'm like,
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't care about this at all.
So
and that's
I
how
guess
I felt.
that the way you're describing it, it sounds like this anime is meant primarily for fans of the original series, right?
That
this
appears to be the case.
Like, this is not necessarily a way to onboard people onto RWBY who didn't watch the web series. This is for the fans. Like,
yes, I will say, however, if you are a fan, you will probably also be disappointed.
right. So that's the thing.
So
that
I feel like, can I guess what you're going to say here? Is it
do
because the
guess.
action is no good?
Overall, yes, the animation. If you came here thinking, "Oh, it'll be cool to see RWBY animated in traditional animated form," it is a hot mess.
Cool.
It feels like it was done by like 4 different studios. Like the shots
probably was.
The shots barely line up. Like, and if you think it's gonna be like some weird Shaft kind of thing, that's not. It's not at all. Like, there's no Shaft.
I mean,
DNA.
also Shaft isn't even necessarily the studio I would go to for, like, your high octane style over substance action show.
Right.
Right.
There was one part where like, so there'll be individual shots that are like almost over animated. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
There's like too much going on, and like everything's like fully shaded. And like, you know, for like maybe 2 or 3 seconds for one shot, and then they'll cut away to like the cast like running over a bridge, and they're just like tweening them over the bridge. Like, it's just like,
again, this is fairly faithful to the source material, but
yes, but it's not supposed to be in that regard,
yeah.
right? It's the whole point of this was seeing this animated in like real, quote unquote, real anime
with higher production values.
Yeah. So,
all right, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What is RWBY actually about?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's about providing a framework for some very cool.
Monty Ohm took that question to his grave.
Yeah,
yes,
to be frank.
They're superpowered teenagers fighting monsters at a school. That's all.
The one thing I knew about RWBY is they've got colors, and they've got the like magazine staves from Nanoha. Like,
yes.
That's all I know.
Well,
you could probably learn more from RWBY from playing
Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle.
Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle featuring RWBY from the RWBY series.
Sure, yeah.
Yes. So
okay,
that's
I mean, like a lot of people really like RWBY. I don't, and
yes.
But
if you are one of those people,
who,
the original series still exists. You'll be okay.
Even the people who didn't like RWBY thought the fights were really cool, and like without that, those first couple of seasons of the original RWBY were really bad, and I'm not sure what you get by retelling them in condensed form.
Okay, then.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on. We didn't talk about this in our preview show, but I know you guys watched Tokyo Mew Mew New.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How new is the Mew Mew?
It's not very new.
Is this like a remake of the original series?
So this is a remake or another adaptation of the original manga, which was released between 2000 and 2003. And the original anime was a 52 episode show, because that's back when you could get 52 episodes by falling off a log, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the first half of it was also brought west as Mew Mew Power, which made up part of the Tsunami block, and therefore it is sacrosanct to a lot of people who were 13 in 2000.
However, I seem to recall at the time there was a lot of people were complaining that it was about the localization choices.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those 4 Kids era dubs. You know, it is Luffy with the squeaky toy hammer era for kids. You know, but
did it have a
like,
rap opening?
Unfortunately not. No.
You hate to see it.
Do you like very traditional magical girl shows? Because if you do, this is one of those, and if you don't, this is one of those. Like,
sure, hey, exactly what it says on the tin, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't necessarily think there's too much more to say. You know, I enjoyed it a great deal because I enjoy those types of shows. But and it's nice to see it. You know, it looks a little bit more up to date, but like everybody is still painfully 90s in design. You know, they've got like the elaborate school uniforms, the puffy hair, the huge eyes. You know, all of the trademarks of that era, and you know, I enjoyed it as a pleasant throwback.
Sure, there could be something charming about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's super out of time. It felt
like actually, you know, it's funny. We didn't actually put it on the list, but I'll just bring it up real quick because I only watched one episode. But we also watched Bastard, which also got a new anime this season. So speaking of 90s properties, getting new anime, it's kind of a similar thing of like it's almost
a time capsule,
unflinchingly faithful to its 90s vibe, right? Edgy 90s seinen vibe, right? Like, you know, it's about a dark wizard, literally named Dark Schneider, who was sealed away in a war over the kingdom. You know, it's so the thing we found out is that specifically, Bastard specifically was a huge influence on one Daisuke Ishiwatari, who would later go on to make Guilty Gear, and suddenly a lot of things fall into place because Bastard also names all of its dudes after like rock and metal guys. You know, like literally in the first episode, a dude named Osborne shows up. You know.
Invading the kingdom of Metallica, or like
Metallicana, I think is how it's pronounced, but it's just Metallica plus some letters thrown onto the end.
Right.
And it's about this evil, dark, super Giga Chad wizard named Dark Schneider who was sealed away like years ago, but now that the kingdom is under attack, it's a classic. Like, our former tormentor may be our only savior against these new, even badder guys, and
that's an extremely 90s plot concept.
He's a 90s protagonist, so he is like a super buff, masculine Giga Chad dude, but he's also crass and aggressive and a lecher. He likes the ladies. And, you know, the only thing that keeps him, like, you know, it's kind of that, like, you know, in hindsight, a lot of manga actually weirdly take a lot of influence from Journey to the West because, again, the only thing that keeps him, like, under wraps is, like, he can be sealed back into his like Prince Adam like alter ego through the kiss from his childhood friend or something. So look, man, they go on adventures, they fight demons, people get killed. All these ladies just have their tits hanging out like it's nothing. Like, it's that kind of show. And maybe a little bit like Tokyo Mew Mew New. It's another thing of like, do you like unapologetically?
I can guarantee nobody has their tits hanging out in Tokyo Mew Mew.
Well, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Just a time capsule.
If you just want something that is unapologetically true to its era, on the other end of the spectrum, there's Bastard.
Yeah. I mean, like, it is, you know, it is sort of, it has all the hallmarks of, I'm talking about Tokyo Mew Mew again, obviously, but like, it has all the hallmarks of the classic magical girl show. You know, there's a sparkly transformation that's really nicely animated. My understanding is they got some of the crew from the original show back to do
that's cool
transformation sequence, which is a nice touch. You know, there is a not too heavily hammered home, but still there environmental message. So there's a bit of Captain Planet in there for you.
Sure.
You know, there's a team of spunky heroines. There's, you know, an attractive, mysterious boyfriend. You know, there's some witty mentors. There's a quirky, cute animal companion.
I was about to say
all that stuff. All that
checking
stuff.
all the boxes.
Right.
The only thing I'm curious about is this thing's only meant to be 13 episodes long, so I'm interested to see if they're going to try and condense 52 episodes into 13 episodes.
That would be
I mean,
difficult.
You can cut out a lot of Monster of the Weeks, but
but I feel like, you know,
but like that's the meat.
Yeah.
Right, we talked about that before, right? Of like a lot of that stuff gives texture to the adventure, right?
So maybe they're hoping that there will be maybe they're going to like only adapt a bit and hope for a follow up. But
I mean,
I liked it quite a bit.
If they're gonna remake all of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, all 110 episodes of it, what's 52 for Tokyo Mew Mew New? That's nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, the difference is that like 30-something military otaku have a lot more spending power than like 12-year-old girls most of the time.
Okay.
So...
Oh, hey, hold on. Zig, are we actually gonna pretend that children are the intended audience of a show like Tokyo Mew Mew New?
In 2000, they were.
But in 2022,
I mean, in 2022,
is that still the audience, or is
I
it
mean,
nostalgia?
I suspect it is equal parts 12-year-old girls and their parents who remember the show from 2000.
All right,
I will say,
it's
not. This is one of the things. It is. I talk about this in my first look post, but like, it is not targeted at adults. I'm sure they will happily take that peripheral demographic. But
I mean,
it is
any
literally
of
a
these...
kids show.
Okay, I was gonna say, but are any of these shows intentionally targeting that demographic? Because I feel like you look at stuff like Precure or Nanoha, and
I mean, Nanoha is absolutely deliberately targeting the adult.
Yes, Nanoha is
All
different.
right.
Precure
I would
airs
say-
in superhero time. It's for kids.
Yeah, like
Right, but,
Precure
like-
is absolutely a kids show.
right, but it has tons of adult fans,
Right.
It's like one of those
Mostly
things
because it
where-
has like curiously good animation a lot of
Yes,
the time. But
I have definitely
I
seen
would-
the Sakuga vids.
I mean, like, I would say that like the vast majority of magical girl anime these days is specifically targeted at the adult male audience, because like you have all of the like the bloody and violent deconstructions that followed in the wake
Yes.
of Madoka, but I don't know, like I'm sure that this show would happily say we will take anybody who watched it. But there is no explicit violence. There's very little fan service aside from they're magical girls and therefore have kind of fan servicey outfits by default.
Right.
But I definitely do not think that this is particularly targeted at the adult market.
Right.
Wow.
Like that is part of its throwback appeal. It is not attempting to be edgy or deconstructive or anything in that regard. I will point out it is written by Reiko Yoshida as well, as in she wrote the original manga. So, that probably
sure.
gives you some idea of the tone that they're striking there.
Right.
But I absolutely refute the idea that this is like an otaku bait thing. It seems completely straightforward.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of dark and bloody deconstructions,
Yeah.
Well,
so let's.
speaking of things happening, speaking of shows with children in them,
Yes, that's pretty
Oh,
much
boy.
the only connection here, right? Let's talk about Made in Abyss Season 2, The Golden City of the Scorching Sun.
what a good subtitle,
Good
by the
title,
way.
yeah.
That is a very
Like,
good subtitle.
I feel like that is some classic, like, you finish climbing the ladder out of, like, the dungeon called the Pit of Dung, and you crest the ladder, and you hear the chime noise, and the
We've
text
just
in the
gone
middle
through
of
the
the
Sea of
screen
Corpses, like
says, The
That was-
Golden City of the Scorching Sun.
That was my favorite Elden Ring level.
Yes.
But I'll just say I have made the choice for now to just skip this. I don't need
yeah?
more
Okay.
suffering in my life.
Did
you watch
I
the
think
movie?
that is
But because from and also from what you guys told me, I'd have to actually like watch the movie and everything. Which
you
Definitely
the
recommend watching
movie
it.
is.
yeah,
The movie's
so
intense.
I will turn the floor over to you all
Okay.
as to how season 2
Well,
is looking.
Zig is the person here with the least context.
Yes, I am. So, of me, G, and Ivo, I am the only person who has not read the manga and therefore does not know what to expect. I think that the first. So there's 2 episodes of this out as of the time of
This recording.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these episodes do a really great job of reminding me why I like this show so much, which is they're full of kind of mysterious, that sort of like poetic mysteriousness.
Yeah.
The appeal of travel, the look, kind of like the sense of forging forward into the unknown, and the danger and difficulty thereof. I think
Right, but
that they're so atmospheric
Yes.
and like full of that sort of certain je ne sais quoi which you can't really articulate but is there.
totally.
And there's also like creepy shit. Like
Yeah, I mean,
And then Rico takes a dump on camera.
yeah, like
the thing is, like, yeah, I think for better or worse, right, is I think these 2 episodes are... they remind you of the peaks and valleys of Made in Abyss, right? Like, because as Zig said, like, I think one of the things that Tsukushi is such a master of is, like, capturing what drives these people to explore the Abyss, right? Like, the implication of the Abyss is that every trip is potentially a one-way trip. And at a certain threshold, it is, right? Like,
and that is the threshold they've just passed. Like,
yes, is that
part of the dramatic weight of some of the stuff which happens early on here is, you know, the sort of both spoken and unspoken understanding that they will never return.
Yes, and there's something, and it's that thing where, on paper, in theory, you almost understand why episode 1 opens with the flashback to the Ganja tribe, and their origins.
Oh, is that their name?
Yes, it's very... English speakers continue to get a laugh out of the fact that they're called the Ganja tribe.
I think that's it's a really sorry, G, I'm just gonna
go for
hijack for a second, but I think that's a really strong dramatic choice, because in that sequence it reiterates the things which, you know, it is not a literal replication of the first season, but it is a reinforcement of the themes. You know,
exactly,
the idea of venturing forth into great danger, the idea of, like, the allure of the unknown. That flashback reminds you that this is what that story is
exactly,
about.
and that it is, like, almost a universal feeling, right? Like, you know, the implication is, like, these people in the flashback delved into the Abyss literally, like, millennia ago. Like, and there's almost a justification then for the intense and kind of grotesque suffering that the character Vueko undergoes, because you could almost argue that, like, almost on paper, that
going to the Abyss would be better than what she's gone through.
Right, that you would rather explore this ominous hole in the ground than endure the known quantity of human suffering that you endure on the surface, right? And so, in that regard, you could almost say, well, maybe that shock value has purpose, right? And I think the issue is that with Tsukushi, it always just rides that line way too uncomfortably close.
I think there is value. Like, one thing that struck me in that opening is, like, the bit where her unnamed owner says, you know, perhaps in the Abyss, even something as useless as you, something as used up as you, can have value. And there's value in that. You know, there is value in that emotion of emptiness, of isolation, of, you know, just subhumanity there. That is why the, you know, sometimes the cruelty and suffering in Made in Abyss is important. The problem is they then have to show it.
Yes.
They cannot. They can't stop it implying. They have to show.
And again, it's like that thing of, like, I don't, you know, look. As far as I know, he hasn't, like, ever been accused of anything. You know, he hasn't. There have been no allegations made against him. But, and look, these are fictional characters, etc., etc., and nobody's actually being harmed. It's just that the things that Tsukushi presents in Made in Abyss sometimes veer into, like, is this shock value, or are you being a little perverse here? And
I think it's way more explicit than even that. You know, I think it is like, oh, this dude is transparently projecting fetishism onto the story.
Yes.
Right?
But again, it's like, but it is contrast against the duality of, like, God, some of the backgrounds in this new season are gorgeous, right? The capital of the Unreturned, the next level of the Abyss.
The music is so good.
It's
stand up, Kevin Penkin.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And it's evocative. It's,
you know, I think the problem is, I think some of the extreme content is justified. You know, I'm not necessarily saying that the show has to be totally sanitized, because I think part of the appeal is that it uses sometimes the extreme violence and extreme cruelty to raise the dramatic stakes, you know. And I think, like in the back half of season 1, that can lead to extremely powerful moments.
Totally.
It just feels like sometimes they don't have the balance right.
Yeah. I will say, because, you know, we should talk about a bit of the narrative itself.
Yes.
I'm kind of curious for you, especially Zig, like, because one of the interesting escalations in season 2 right out the gate is, like, in season 1, exploring the Abyss was very much a solitary affair, right? Like, you had a couple of the outposts, like
Right.
Ozen's fort, right? You have Bondrud's, like, fortress. But,
These
like,
weird spinning pizza city.
yes, but, like, no, there aren't really settlements.
There are not
in-
other characters.
Right, and what do you think about the idea that, at least with episode 2, is introducing this idea that, oh, there is a society that lives in the Abyss, and what would a society have to do to adapt to living in the Abyss?
I mean, I think in theory I'm intrigued by this, right? Because I think, I spoke about this to Iro after we watched the movie, but the movie is such, like, sort of the like thematic thrust of Made in Abyss in extremis that
Yes.
like
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to divert after that. Like you cannot do the same escalation of like cruelty and
You can't just introduce
violence.
a new white whistle every
Right,
arc.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
So I
Maybe
think
every other
I am
arc.
I think I am ready for perhaps a story which is more character based, which is more contemplative, and perhaps something more of a slow build. I'm interested in the idea of, because look, I'm working on the assumption that these like crazy fucked up creatures that they have come across were once the tribe who ventured down here, or like something like that. I'm interested to see, what, as you say, what have these people done to survive down here, and what were they looking for, because they've been seeding the idea that this city has power, has something which draws people to it, and I think I'm okay with a story that is like set in one place and a little bit more deductive and character based. So I'm intrigued by that. I think that that's a very difficult thing to pull off, and I'm interested to see them try.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well,
Okay. Oof.
I mean, would you guys say that you are looking forward to more of this?
Dude, in a season
I
like
am.
this, I might just
am.
take what I can get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am, but also I don't know what's coming. So
Yeah, like is the good still outweighing the bad? I guess is going to be the eternal question, right? Like, and by bad I mean all the things you mentioned.
It's
for
the
me, it's
thing of,
easily
like,
still worth it.
yeah, and even for me as a manga reader, like, I'll admit, like, Tsukushi always finds a way to drag me back in, right? Because even the most recent chapters of the manga, which are the beginning of the arc after what the manga is covering, like
What the anime is covering.
or what the anime is covering, right? After the events of the anime, what the anime is about to cover, I thought, I was like, Jesus Christ, I might have to step off here. And then the next chapter came out, and I was like, oh, word? Oh,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. So,
All right.
Right.
I think, for better or worse, Made in Abyss, it possesses a quality to it that, perhaps like the giant hole in the ground itself, just draws you in.
Yeah, it's very
despite
compelling.
despite the dangers they're in.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's move on to talking about new shows. I think almost all of these are like good ideas that hit varying degrees of failure as they attempt to execute them.
We'll talk about it.
Yes.
But some more so than others. But we'll start with if you need some indicator of how long we've been doing this, if you go back to our season preview, we told you the best show of the season would not be one that we talked about, and G
Yep.
randomly picked one off the list. And that show was Lycroris Recoil. Now,
Okay,
what
so
can
I
I
am not-
say?
I am not going to claim that Lycroris Recoil is a great show.
It's a pretty entertaining one, though.
It's certainly interesting and entertaining.
Yes.
So, G, I want you to sell me, because I have not been particularly entertained or amused by the 2 episodes I've seen so far. So, where's the appeal for you? You know, what are you enjoying or
Sure.
being intrigued by about?
Well, I mean, on the basis level of Lycroris Recoil, look, I'm gonna admit, right? I do like the girls with guns subgenre of anime. You know, like Gunslinger Girl is, I mean, not Gunslinger Girl, Gunsmith Cats.
I was gonna say Gunslinger Girl, something very different.
Yeah, no,
Gunsmith Cats is more appropriate.
Yes,
comparison.
Gunsmith Cats is what I'm talking about. Gunslinger Girl, the less said about that one, the better. Gunsmith Cats, however, now that's a good one. But you know, okay. So yes, I will admit that on the basis level, I am the type of person who can just enjoy a show that is about girls with firearms. But on a level beyond that, I actually am enjoying aspects of the character dynamic that is going on here. With episode 3, I have fully acknowledged, and you know, I think Jell will probably was also thinking about this. I think by episode 3, we may just have to accept that this show is not going to be a critique of the police state.
Yeah, I've pretty much given up on anything beyond murder is bad. I think they'll maybe stick with that, but
yes,
the other, but but any of, so to rewind a little bit.
Yes, the
episodes the series starts off with raising some interesting questions about this organization. So to summarize what it's about, you know, there is this. They kind of play off of the reputation Japan has of having like a low crime rate and it's so safe, and they even have
a homogenous, peaceful nation.
Right. They even have like, and they're not. The show is not saying this is true. This is like actually presented as propaganda, where they're like, you know, because of the good nature of the Japanese people, you know, no one ever commits crimes. But in reality, people are trying to commit crimes. They're just being suppressed by a army of schoolgirl assassins called Lycroris that just straight up shoot people when they're attempting to.
Yeah, and it's such a strong opening too, because like you can almost feel the intended irony of the narration against like the clearly very like unnerving actions happening on screen, right? Like you see multiple of these girls just like walking around town like black bagging people in the fucking street, right? And it's like And so, you think that it's meant to be intentionally disturbing in its discordance, right?
Yeah. But and to some degree, I still think it is. But I feel like it's more of a it's like a byproduct of them just needing a setting for cool girls with guns, right?
And at least as of episode 3, it seems like the main premise is that like we have up and comer girl cop Takina who, you know, goes against orders and, you know, guns down a bunch of baddies to save a fellow Lycroris against orders. So she gets the classic, you're getting demoted and sent out to the boonies under the tutelage of small town girl cop, right? Chisato.
And the implication, like the peppiest anime girl I've seen in ages. Like I am exhausted when Chisato's on screen.
I'm gonna be honest. I actually really like Chisato.
I wasn't. Too, I feel like I wasn't sold until episode 3.
Episode 3.
When like she is not merely mega peppy, but is peppy in a very deliberate, like blow for blow kind of way.
The thing is that, like, I think, so, not to, like, diverge too much, but I think what often bothers people about the Genki girl stereotype is that they're almost, like, too ditzy and, like, they lack self-awareness, right? So they almost just become, like, treated like, you know, an adorable, like, dog or something. Right? Like, oh, you just make your noises over there. How cute, right? And I think what makes Chisato work is she is very high energy. She's very upbeat, but also she doesn't take shit.
She's very pointed.
Like, yes. Yeah. She is actually fairly keen and aware of her surroundings, and often uses her like disarming cheeriness to catch people off guard, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, Takina gets sent to go serve with small town cop Chisato, who is implied to be like the legendary girl cop, you know, who like did something crazy at the Tokyo Tower years ago.
Yeah, and again, it's interesting because she's the top Lycroris or whatever, and we discover that she's not out murdering people in the streets. She's mostly trying to be proactive and like
Yeah,
have
and-
a positive impact on the community as opposed to just going out and shooting people.
Yeah, and that's
And,
the
like,
thing
that-
initially
mean,
had
like-
me really on board in season 1 is like, oh, is this a show that is almost
You mean
starting
episode
to
1, right?
Episode 1, yeah.
Episode 1, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
That is almost like advocating for this idea that instead of like, violently, disposing of your criminal elements, that it's actually better to preemptively prevent your criminal elements from forming in the first place
Community
through
outreach.
community outreach and like small scale problem solving.
Yeah.
And there's something really compelling about that in the first episode. And
it's not that they're not saying that, but again, feels like just a byproduct of we're trying to make this cool setting for
right.
girls with guns.
Right. I don't really feel the thrust of a deliberate theme there, so to speak. It's kind of peripheral to
Yeah, I
the
mean
things
it's
that
there, but it's like incidental,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
and I agree with you, G, that by episode 3, any hope of like some kind of meaningful
Oh yeah,
theme
absolutely gone.
is gone out the window.
No, so I have, for better or worse, like I'm probably not gonna be able to get out here and like give my thesis on why Lycroris Recoil is good and you should watch it. I'm just more gonna get out here and say that I'm really enjoying it and having a good time with it, and I think that in its specific areas of expertise, it is a very well done version
Well, the
of
action
one
is
of
very
these types
cool.
of shows. Yes,
The action is very cool. They have
the
their-
firearms choreography is really excellent. There's a segment with the grenade in episode 2 that was a real standout for me, where somebody is about to throw a grenade at Chisato, and she doesn't just kick it out of the way, she kicks it into a different room and then slams the door shut and then drags the guy who threw the grenade in front of the door so the back blast of the door will slam into him.
Right.
And it's so fucking slick. I
Yeah,
was...
so she right, because she when she does have to fight, she does not, even if she does have to fight, she fights non-lethally, right?
Yes.
So like rather than blowing the guy up, she knocks him out with the door, right?
Yeah. And so I think that for better or worse, if we do get even the most mild criticism of the police state, it will only be through the lens of how, like, I think by episode 3, the clear aim here is more about how Chisato is going to get Takina to, like, come out of her shell and be a better person,
Right.
both, like, as an actual human being and as, a member of this, like, clandestine organization.
Yeah.
And, there are bits and pieces there of, like, oh, like, there is internal sabotage happening in the organization.
right.
I think
there's
there
a
is-
conspiracy afoot, but...
there's place for some kind of dissent, right? Because it's like
Yes.
the idea is that these girls were orphans that were taken in and had nowhere else to go, and they kind of
Yes.
lean heavily into this in episode
Wards of the
3,
state.
where
Yes.
the girls are kind of like, some of the girls are like basically like brainwashed, right? They're
Right,
like,
and some of the girls, like Takina, even if she's not brainwashed, finds her value in being part of that organization.
right, and
Right.
Chisato is different because she's been in the outside world and realizes
Right, she's
that,
built different.
right.
And
Well,
and
I have
think,
other speculation on that, but the
Well, yes.
as far as her attitude and her worldview, though, because she's been out in the world, she understands that the shortcomings of their organization, right?
Right, and again, I don't think it's gonna like get out there and be like a cab defund the
Right,
police.
defund the. They're
but-
not saying defund the police. No.
There is certainly but I do think there are certain aspects that can be read in it, right? Of like, how does Chisato become a better girl cop by actually interacting with people, right?
Right.
What is one of the greatest criticisms of American policing right now is how insular it is, right? How much they close ranks around each other when scandals happen, right? There's this idea that one of the greatest issues with the American policing, other than, being a bunch of violent jackbooted thugs, is that, like, they don't even really interact with the people they're policing anymore, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know if there ever was this, like, good old days of, oh, if you're lost, you can ask your local policeman for directions. I don't know if that era ever actually existed, but people like to imagine it once did. I can't
if
imagine...
You were white.
Yes.
Yes.
I can't imagine any human being, any American in 2022 ever wanting to talk to a cop of
Yeah.
their own volition.
Yeah, you would never do that.
Right.
And so, again, I don't think the show is, like, intentionally trying to make that its message, but if that is the message that it ends up portraying as a result of the story it is trying to tell, I'm not going to look that gift horse in the mouth.
Right, and I think that everything you've said is true, and I think that the characters are fairly interesting, and there's potential for an interesting story about the nature of systemic violence. It's just that this show also is like, aha, the genius hacker is actually this, like, sour-mouthed little girl that we've seen a billion times.
I know,
and also
but,
they
like,
work in a tea shop and dress up and serve pastries.
and there's
and
an older lady
Yeah.
with glasses who can't get a date.
Yeah.
Oh no, 'cause she's
Yeah.
so
Like,
unattractive.
The framing is so familiar and
Yes.
frivolous that I think it actually is putting me off of the real substance that is
I
there.
think that's fair.
I'm sorry,
I think,
that hacker episode was great with the gun down the teddy bear.
I do. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
got
like,
a good laugh
again,
out of it.
that's not the issue. The issue
Yeah.
is that they pull, like, the tiredest, most
Yeah, no, I'm with you, G, because
they could possibly do.
if I could back up one more step, when I didn't watch the trailer for the show, I only read the description, and if you read the description,
It's
it's
just like
I-
girls
I-
at a cafe solving problems.
yeah, I thought it was gonna be like girls at a cafe solving people's low stakes problems
right,
around
like a
town.
cozy mystery.
Yeah.
And I feel like that framework is still in there somewhere, and then they added like guns and stuff on top of it. So I
I
get
will
what you're
say
saying, Zig. There's like the stereotypical kind of cute girl cast buried in there, right? But I don't know. I feel like that's like.
I will say that this show has, like, the best blood splatters this side of a Peckinpah film. Like,
they know where
so
their
many
priorities
squibs.
are.
Like,
Yeah. I will say, I think I was already. Look, I mean, I was already enjoying the show for the reasons I can enjoy media like this. I will say, I think episode 3 has a very, again, I don't think episode 3 fixes any of the things we're talking about. In fact, I think episode 3 doubles down on the things that it's already good at, for better or worse.
Right.
And I can enjoy that, I guess, because, I don't know, like, episode 3, where, like, Chisato goes back to headquarters, and, like, everybody is giving her shit, and she just, like, is talking right back at them,
Right,
and,
right.
like, they're, like, did you guys
'Cause-
notice this? Like all the girls start reverting to, like, delinquent, accents when they get angry. Yeah, like, they start, like, doing the rolling R's thing.
Yeah. It's
And then they have
great.
that mock battle in episode 3, and it's that very satisfying trope of everybody is giving Chisato shit, everyone's talking down to her, right? Everyone's just like, oh, you're the black sheep, you washed out for a reason.
Despite
and now
her being like the best one of all of them, right?
Right, and then we have this mock battle where, again, it's the thing of, fucking, idiot second place Lycroris thinks that, oh, now that she's the top dog, now that, that she can take Chisato in a fight, and, Chisato is just schooling these two girls in a 1v2, and you come to the realization, right, that, oh, Chisato's not even, like, trying against these two. She's just fucking around because she's not doing this for her own pride. She knows she's already the best. She's just
Right.
waiting for Takina to come back so that she can have her own self-actualization moment.
Right. It's
Right?
pretty good.
So she just stalls the entire time. That bit where she disarms the girl, then hands her back her loaded gun.
Right, because
Yeah, and
you're not going to be able to hit me with that.
And I like where they're going with their relationship. Like I keep thinking about in the OP when they're like kicking each other. Like
Yeah, it's a... I don't
it's
know
a
why,
fun-
but that one moment in the OP is actually maybe the most charming, like, 5 seconds of animation I've seen.
they do a lot of really small things nice. I was thinking about like
yeah,
I was thinking about like in the second episode when they're fighting the mercenaries.
yeah,
And the one guy gets shot, and like he doesn't say anything, but he's saying in his head, I'm not getting paid enough for this. It's not worth it.
right.
Like
yes,
there's stuff like that that's like very well directed.
yeah. So I think
so-
it's gonna be one of those shows that, like, for better or worse, I don't think it's ever going to hit those lofty expectations we might have had in episode 1, but at least based on the first 3 episodes, this is a flashy, well-directed, well-made, like, piece of pulp entertainment, and it is good at that, and
it's all we wanted. It's all it
if we
needs to
get
be, I
if we
guess.
get anything else,
I
it's a
don't know.
bonus, right?
yes, I can accept and enjoy it for what it is, and
Yeah.
I think that I could see this one being very popular for those reasons, you know. And then, you know, there's also, you know, the Yuri undertones, but let's be real, like, it's always just baiting. If your name isn't Birdie Wing,
Unless
you
you're
don't have
Birdie Wing, yeah.
you don't have the guts to
anything with
commit
that.
to it. You
More
know?
birdie next
Birdie,
time.
birdie.
Yeah. But
It's funny. I tangent here, but I always put whatever shows I'm watching on my Crunchyroll queue, and I refuse to, and then I take them off at the end of the season, and I refuse to take Birdie Wing off until it comes back.
no, because it's not over yet.
So that's permanently in my queue until that comes back. But anyway, all right. So I mean I'll say that show is probably the thing I'm most excited to watch every week.
Sure,
Whether you want to
In
call
this
it good or
season,
bad.
yes.
I might
In
agree.
this season. So, all right. Let's talk about everyone's problematic fave, Call of the Night.
Do you like girls with weird eyes?
So
Sometimes.
Hell
okay,
yeah, you do.
I
If you
wanted
do,
to check this out.
You might want to check out anime.
Yeah, I wanted to check this out because it's by the author of Dagashi Kashi, a show that I enjoyed. I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece or anything, but I liked it. You know, you could draw perhaps some parallels with the main girl being this, or really the concept of this, you know, young boy becoming fascinated with this eccentric girl that looks like she's stoned all the time and has purple hair. But other than that, though, it's definitely a different vibe. Whereas Dagashi Kashi is more of like sort of a laid back summer vacation, you know, everybody kind of bumming around type of
Right, this is
feeling.
more like a proper, serial narrative shonen style adventure of sorts.
I wouldn't necessarily call it that, but the mood they're going for, it's very much a lot of the emphasis is on like nighttime itself, like the actual call of the night.
I read your first look post, and I won't lie, it kind of had me thinking about watching it because
they set a really like if you're a night owl like me, and I
Yes.
think you are too, G.
uh-huh.
You know, that sort of magic, like
the witching hour, right?
Yes, that magic feeling of being out late at night,
Like,
when everyone else is asleep and being out in
I
town.
used to love wandering at night in Boston back when I was in college. Like,
Yeah,
you know, I would, you know, I mean, I was already doing it because, like, I was working in, you know, the art studio at our school till like 1 or 2 in the morning,
Right.
and then I'd get out and it would just be like dead silent, and there's something
Like-
I just kind of loved about that.
that gives me energy. Like when I'm
Yeah,
like,
totally.
there's a feeling to it, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
everybody gets that, but like, you know, if you get it, like that's what they're trying to like emphasize. And you know, the premise is that it's, you know, it starts out with this kid who's like 14 or something, and he having trouble sleeping at night because his various problems at school, and he decides to sneak out and just kind of wander around town, and he starts to really like it. Like he's, you know, because of that feeling. And the presentation is fantastic. Like this is Leiden Films, who can be both absolute garbage presentation wise, and but when they put like their A team on things, they can make really nice stuff. And they apparently have their A team on this one. So not just the animation, but like the art direction and everything's like purple and black and gold, and it like looks really cool, and it really gets that mood of like
Totally.
being out late at night that I love.
No, I've definitely seen a couple of screen caps, and like it's a very inspired choice to go for like purple as like your color of the night instead of the more traditional blue.
Yeah.
It gives it a more otherworldly vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, and so he's this kid's bumming around, and he runs into this girl who turns out to be a vampire. And
God, I wish it was that easy to just wander at night and then run into a hot vampire girl. Like,
yes,
Be
I
careful what you
wandered
wish for
around
there.
in the night so much. In
unfortunately,
college.
that has not happened to me either. But
Yeah,
What
what?
the world
and
just
that's
isn't
where-
fucking fair, is it?
Yeah, right.
and that's where we get into some of the dumb anime nonsense that
Sure. Yes.
you have to deal with. I think
I mean,
I feel similar to the show and I'm gonna say, perhaps not to such a harsh degree, but similar to how I felt about Dragon Maid, where I feel
Oh,
like
you mean it's garbage?
I feel like there's like a really good show there, and then there's just like this layer of garbage that you have to be willing to
I think
All
ignore.
the anime bullshit on top.
yes, sometimes you have to know when you are going in for the garbage, right?
And everybody's tolerance for that is going to vary.
And some people actively seek it out.
Yes, right. So
like us.
In this case, so of course you have the weird aspect of this being an immortal vampire who's presented as a woman because she's drinking beer, creeping on this 14-year-old kid, which it's pretty horny. I'm not gonna lie.
Gee, the show by the creator of Dagashi Kashi, kind of horny, huh?
Also,
Probably
the show
more
with
so than-
vampires in it.
Probably more so than Dagashi Kashi, and it's.
I think has everyone here seen the fucking clip of the midriff turnaround?
Yeah, it's
that
a
is
lot of like let's linger on thighs and midriffs.
What a wild use of budget and time in an anime, but also like there's an audacity to it I almost respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like other shows would be like, what should we use our budget for? Oh, we should use it for like this like evocative character acting or this intense action choreography. And Call of the Night is over here and be like, what if we did a really slow turnaround of this girl's midriff?
Yeah. And so what ends up happening is she drinks his blood, and of course it's delicious. And
so does he become a vampire?
He realizes he loves being out at night and he wants to be a vampire. But all the stories about vampires just drinking your blood and you turn to a vampire are not true.
Of course.
If you want to turn into a vampire, you have to fall in love with the vampire and then they drink your blood. And so now he's determined to fall in love with this vampire girl so that she can turn him into a vampire.
Falling in love, one of the things you can definitely do if you set your mind to it.
Yes.
I mean, in a certain type of show, that would almost be like a pretty solid comedy premise, right? Of like you could do the thing of like the guy and the girl actually like have really acerbic chemistry and they don't get along at all, and then
Isn't that what
the
Nisekoi
premise
was about? Like,
was it?
I think so, vaguely.
I
I
think
think
Nisekoi
Nisekoi was
so.
like they don't get along, but they have to pretend to be in love, and so of course they slowly fall in love, or something.
Well, yeah, Nisekoi is like baby's first harem anime, though.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, so I mean, it's kind of a dumb premise. I will give them some credit though. It's not like the main guy is like, all right, I'm gonna fall in love with this girl today. I'm gonna try to hold her hand or something, like some kind of like. Instead, he just kind of like starts hanging out with her and trying to get to know her like you would a real person.
Sure.
So I'll give him some credit on that, but it is a pretty silly premise, and they kind of like lean into the like, she's never drank somebody else's blood, or like the sort of like virgin fetish thing, and
Wait,
a lot of like very.
So the vampires in this world don't need blood to live. What do they subsist off normally?
Sorry, she's drank other people's blood, but she hasn't like used that for the means of reproducing.
Oh, another vampire.
Yes,
I see.
Which is like the very not even veiled sexual metaphor in this series.
Yes, of course.
I mean, look, we can't really blame anime for having.
No, vampires have been guilty of this. Yes,
of course. So, but I mean, like the whole like virgin thing and all that. Like, I can't stand that. That drives me crazy.
I guess I don't know. I guess overall, though, is this one you feel like you could see yourself sticking with, like you did with Dagashi Kashi?
After I got to episode 2, pull up the screenshot of dive into the trash.
You're doing it. You see it ahead of you, and you're like,
I think I am personally able to look past the potentially problematic elements here and enjoy it. However,
Jill, I just spent like the
it is
10
my-
minutes trying to
It is a
explain
sacrifice
why.
you're prepared to make.
Yeah,
it is
like,
my duty to just
Yeah,
report
yeah.
on those things so that other people
Sure.
can make their own informed decisions.
Jill, you just gotta embrace it, man. I just spent 10 minutes trying to defend a show where girl cops just kill people, like, with no recourse. And I'm like, actually, this show is good. You sometimes just gotta embrace it for what it is.
Yes, okay, fine. I want to watch the show with the hot vampire girl
With the
and
horny
two
vampire.
dirtbags
Okay.
falling in love in the middle of the night.
So, like,
yes.
Sure.
How
Sign me up.
many episodes until they introduce
Another vampire.
specifically whatever vampire turned her into a vampire?
Ah.
Oh, no,
as a
no, they're
love
doing,
triangle thing.
That
No,
feels
the-
like penultimate arc material.
No, the love triangle is his other friend that's a girl that got introduced.
Sure.
at the end.
But I'm
Episode
saying,
Okay,
two.
normal human girl.
Yes.
but I'm saying they gotta. I like that one's in the chamber, right? Like
Yeah, oh, totally, yes. I know
his-
exactly
his
where you're
rival
going, Nero.
perfection.
Yes.
Yeah, they've already had the playing off the jealousy of he doesn't want her to suck other people's blood now and all that. But so like he actually had already like one of his problems that he was losing sleep over is his friend confessed to him and he turned her down, and I think she's going to be the
Great. Sure,
Huh.
Whatever.
Huh,
the other
okay.
the other third part of the
Interesting.
love
The
triangle.
love triangle, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? Good enough for this season. I'll watch it.
Yeah,
Why
the
the
season.
fuck not?
All right, well.
All right. Let's talk about Yurei Deco. This
Mm-hmm.
is the Science Saru project this season.
It definitely shows it.
It's this is another show. I like a lot of the concepts that they're putting down. It's a very interesting, and I've only watched the first episode as a caveat.
Okay.
This particular take on like VR and AR, so it's like a virtual world kind of scenario thing, right?
Kind of, but
uh-huh.
also like there's a lot of it that's just set in like a computer enhanced real world.
Yeah,
Right,
makes
AR,
sense.
that'd be like more AR, right? Like, but
Yeah.
and there's like layers of like the
Right.
regular world,
Yeah.
everything is AR, and then there's another VR world on top of
Yeah,
that. And
absolutely. But like, I feel like the more obvious route would have been, everybody like spends all their time in VR. So I respect them for like saying, no, the real world still exists. It's
Yeah.
just like terminally online in every sense now.
Yeah, and it's a take that feels like it's informed from like now that we've had decades of the internet and
Yes.
like
Mm-hmm.
the way they handle like everything being monetized and
Yeah.
everything you can put a skin on everything to recolor everything.
I mean,
and,
so that's a thing, right? I mean, I guess we should say the premise real quick, right? Which is it's about this girl named Barry who, lives in this like a heavily AR VR augmented world, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I guess because one of her like eye implants malfunctions, she's suddenly able to see the world without the like always on AR enhancements and becomes privy to what is some kind of like cyberspace conspiracy, right?
Right.
And I think I wish I liked this show more because I think it's actually maybe one of the I mean this in a good way.
Mhm.
One of the most upsetting
Yes.
near future dystopias I have ever seen in my life. Like
yeah.
it's all the horror of like Ready Player One combined with like Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Like
I
their
need,
world,
I need more likes because that's
their
my money.
likes are their currency, and so it's this thing of like people are constantly terminally
Selfieing
online,
and-
right? Oh, better take my morning selfie because I'm gonna need enough likes to
Buy my
afford the
coffee or
bus
whatever,
or buy my coffee or whatever, right? And the thing that you can see past all the AR enhancements is that they live in this horrifically drab gray world with these flat concrete lifeless buildings with all this gaudy AR enhancement just
I
like
think that's
thrown on
such
top
a good
of it.
visual touch.
Yeah,
like, the
it's
fact
great,
That the world
it's
is actually
gross.
incredibly boring.
Then,
Like I
yeah.
hate and I know it's intentional,
where-
but I hate how the show looks.
There's the bit where she's like, I'm gonna change my town cosmetics for today, and then tabs through the different town skins until she gets to the one that says you haven't hit your like threshold to use this skin. So we put sample over everything, and it's like,
yeah, it's so like distressing, and it's like, again, it's that part of it I think is like actually really smart and canny. I really like that part because it is taking the dopamine like vicious cycle of social media and just turning it into the primary like currency of the world in a way that's very distressing.
Absolutely.
But man, like if a show like, you know, for example, if a show like Lycroris Recoil, I like it in spite of everything because it's running off a vibe I like. Yurei Deco is like the exact opposite, where I like the premise, I like the story and thesis it's telling, but I hate its vibe. Like, I hate the way the characters talk, like the whole like nerdy wordy or
like I was saying, that kid talks like a Digimon. He just spouts onomatopoeia all the time.
Right, you know, like
I understand, and I think you're making good points that like the show is kind of you know, like tonally out of whack with some of the messages it sends. But I really like it. I just think like Science Savu brings so much energy and charm and like humanity to those characters, and you know, I think that like Visor Kid is incredibly annoying and shitty, and I really like that. And you know, I just like I love kind of like the verve to it, you know. I think Berry is great, you know. I think that she's sort of flighty and shitty in exactly the way like a tween girl would.
Yeah, totally.
Be.
No, it's that thing of, I think that like on paper it is like, you know, on paper, if I read these things as in an outline, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's how you would write these characters. That's how you would portray this world. It's something about like, look, I love Science Saru, alright? Ping Pong, the best anime, one of the best anime of the last 10 years, you know? Like, Ping Pong's fucking great. I'll sing the praises of Ping Pong all goddamn day, right? But, like, so I love Science Saru's, like, intentional, like, ugly aesthetic at times, but there is something
like, keep
about...
your hands off Azoken, right? Like...
Or, yeah, you know, like, keep your hands off of Azoken. Fantastic show. Lovely, you know? I don't know. There's just something about like the feel. I guess it's like the mouth feel of Yurei Deco. I don't like it.
Yeah, right, and I do get that, and it's hard because like, you know, it's hard to articulate these like praises and criticisms into something that is understandable across that gap of experience.
Yeah,
you know, I think for better or worse, Science Saru shows are always like that. You know,
I think this is definitely going to be a divisive one, because I'll just throw out, I hated it.
Okay.
I said all those nice things at the beginning. I hated the characters. I hated the... Sure. I think it's ugly. I'm not totally buying the intentionally ugly vibe on this one. I think...
I guess...
I think if you were...
sorry, do go ahead.
Yeah, like I get the buildings are gray and drab and everything in the background, but I still feel like the visuals don't... Like, I feel like... I was thinking of another show that I feel like did this look better. I had to look this up. It was called Urahara. Go look that one up, folks.
Yeah.
I feel like
that
title, did this type
and
of
that's
art.
all I got.
I guess I'm just into the fact that it doesn't really look like an anime. You know, it looks more like somebody bought a newspaper comic strip to life.
Fucking Bandai Dessiné.
No, it's not a Bandai.
Okay,
I mean, just because it's the old like, just because it's different doesn't mean it's good to me, in my opinion.
Right, and like you said, I think it is going to be divisive.
I think for me the question
I really like it. I think we're about to say the same thing, so go for it.
Okay, sure. I think for me the question then is going to be like, how well does it actually pull off its like whatever its core message is about this world, right? Because if this show just ends up being like, you know, put the phone down and touch grass, I don't know if that alone is going to be enough to justify the specific type of ugly dystopia they're writing, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. If it's just going to be an old man yelling to
Will Like, will the satire actually have teeth? And
Yes.
I think,
And let's not forget the elephant in the room.
right,
here.
yes, this is what I was going to say. This show is written by your friend and mine, Dai Sato, who we were talking
Die
about earlier.
motherfucking Sato.
Oh,
Who,
boy.
let's be kind here, has not written anything good in years.
Up and down career.
Yeah.
Is the kindest.
Some
we
real
could probably
peaks and
say.
valleys. This man wrote episodes of both Cowboy Bebop, Wolf's Rain, and Samurai Champloo.
Dandy.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
Eureka 7.
Well, did he write the good episodes of
He
Space
wrote
Dandy?
a
is the
couple. So
question.
he wrote some good ones.
Sure,
And they were
sure.
all good episodes, that's the thing. Well,
Mm,
most,
All right, all right.
So
most of them.
you know, I can. So as much as I'm saying I hate it, like I can appreciate a lot of that is my personal preference, and I could see how people would like this because I get it, and I think things like art style become a lot more subjective, right?
Right.
But yeah, I would be concerned though about the main story going somewhere as well, which we'll see. We can't really predict.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
am a
I mean,
little worried that they
I
might
think
not
this
really
thing
go
is
anywhere with that either.
absolutely still on the bubble, but I'm enjoying the ride so far,
Sure.
and I think the potential is huge. And, we can't judge something on potential, but I'm inclined to look kindly on it to begin with, at least.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how this one fares. It's been in the last 10 years. A lot of people have taken shots at Mamoru Hosoda, and they've all missed.
Well, like,
Yeah.
the thing is, though,
Summer
like,
War's still the goat.
but, like, Summer Wars positions the idea of the internet
Yes.
as a utopia, right?
Yes, I know. No.
Yeah.
There's Summer Wars. Actually, I fear Summer Wars actually does not hold up in retrospect because it's a very idealistic
I mean,
vision of the internet.
That's why he made that film for the third time. He
Yeah.
had to update it.
Yes.
All right.
But yeah, all right. We got to keep going.
Let's talk about another show with a great premise that fails miserably. The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting.
Hina Matsuri, you mean? Wow, I can't
Wow.
believe Hina Matsuri's back.
I want to be totally reductive and just say watch Hina Matsuri, but I will talk about the show a little bit. I came into this expecting a dad anime. I would not describe this as dad anime. This is appealing to the people that like hot anime dudes that are also assholes and probably
my.
abusive.
One of those.
Because the main dude is like he's like a straight up murderer, and he's not like repentant or like they don't deal with this at all. Like he's not like conflicted. That's just his job, and he happens to get asked to take care of his Yakuza boss's daughter. And
What? It's not even a mysterious orphan?
no, it's just his
Ugh.
daughter, and like his wife died or something or whatever, and so he needs somebody to babysit, and he asks his top Yakuza guy to take care of her because he knows he'll be safe, and it's awful. They can't pick a tone, so like sometimes it's like really goofy, sometimes it's like tries to be very sentimental, and like the whole thing is basically, look at this, terrible dude, but now he's being nice to a little girl. Isn't that cute? And he can open up and be vulnerable. Isn't that adorable? And that's pretty much all there is to it. Like there's no, and like the dialogue and everything's awful. Like they can't, like I said, they can't pick the tone of whether they want this to be like sentimental and like emotional or goofy comedy with guy taking care of a little girl. And I have nothing good to say about this.
Okay then.
All right.
The only reason I put it on this list was it's a great premise, and I just wanted to tell everybody this is not the premise you're probably expecting. And B, watch Hina Matsuri because that's a much
Yes.
better version.
But
of
I gotta
this.
ask, Jill, how many times has the little girl been kidnapped so far?
They made one attempt in
Okay,
episode 1.
so
Okay, so,
still,
Are you gonna say
seven-
still doing better than Kiryu?
6 less kidnappings than Haruka
Well,
under the care of
no,
one
I mean,
Kiryu
we'll
Kazuha.
see.
if they're going for one kidnapping an episode to match the one kidnapping a game, then that's
Yeah.
alright.
I think there's a good chance she will get kidnapped at least once in the series, and he'll have to go
Sure,
and rescue
yes.
her. But
Yes. But yeah,
Yeah.
no. In all seriousness, like as jokey as I am bringing up the Yakuza comparison, or God, the Ryuga Gotoku comparison. the reason why Kiryu works is because, like, the whole point of Kiryu's character is that he's not actually fit to be a good Yakuza.
Yes,
right?
Kiryu has
like,
never done anything wrong in his life.
Like, he's
He's too honorable.
Yeah.
He's
too good at heart,
person.
right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have what it takes to be, like, what it takes to be a good Yakuza is not who Kiryu Kazuma is. And so, when he does take in Haruka, it kind of makes sense because it's like, oh, this is always kind of closer to who you always were. I mean, yeah, you can still, like, suplex a dude through, like, 3, like, feet of concrete, but, like, at heart, you're a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You could do this show if it was just like literally any other job, and it just happens to be in this job he's a murderer. But there's no like reckoning with the fact that he's a murderer.
If they don't even lean into it, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, it's I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's move on.
Speaking of a show that I also hated, or that I hate.
I
don't know if this was even worth putting on this list, but
yeah, I'm surprised.
All right, let me. I'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
So we're talking about Engage Kiss.
yeah,
I checked this out because I felt like it had big Tact Opus Destiny energy.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that.
Yeah, I feel like that is what it's
when I
going
saw the
for.
trailer originally before I watched.
I mean that's a double-edged sword.
Right, exactly.
No,
and we've been hit with the double edge.
Yeah, so this season, you know, I would take a 7 out of 10 anime trash show. You know, I'll take whatever we can get. And I do feel like if you tweaked this slightly, it would probably be about that.
It could be it. It could. In another world.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, you know, when I was talking with Call of Night, there's a certain threshold of anime garbage that you're going to be willing to put up with.
This one's too thick.
Yes, this has gone past the threshold.
So the whole thing about this is, like, they fight demons or something. He is, instead of being part of a demon fighting firm, the main character runs his own demon fighting startup because he has a contract.
There's a bunch of like PMCs that get hired
because
to
he's got a
fight demons.
personal contract with an A rank demon who's the sexy anime lady who has to kiss him to power up.
But don't worry, even though she's the strongest demon, she's also just a cute girl in love and just wants to do whatever she can to please
her man.
Who is the worst person on I Gotta Hate Him So Much.
And it's like, you almost could have pulled this off because, look, we all love a good dirtbag protagonist.
Yes,
and
but
like,
he has literally no redeeming
this
values.
crosses a line
and that's
somewhere.
the problem, right? Because when the episode first opens up with this dude literally bumming off of his ex,
right?
Yes,
like there's an aspect of like, oh, this dude is like a dirtbag in a very like self-aware,
he's like
unapologetic way.
Yeah, like oh hey, please, I beg you, give me $5, like kind of like pathetic.
Yeah,
and
it's like there's a way you could play this off, right? Like there's a way you can make a dude this pathetic and make him still kind of likable in that, like, oh, he's such a piece of shit, but like, you know, I don't know, he's trying his best.
This show doesn't do that.
It doesn't.
Yeah, like,
he's
like
just
there was the big moment where they're gonna take down the demon, and he like comes up with this plan, and he gets in good position to take the demon out, and you're like, okay, now he's gonna prove his worth, and then he fails miserably, and it's like
he's not even good at that.
He's bringing literally nothing to the table here.
Right. All he has in his back pocket is his A-rank demon girlfriend.
Right.
Like that's it. He doesn't actually bring anything to the table.
If she just hung out with his ex-girlfriend, that would solve all the problems. And
right.
then...
Do you even have to kiss a member of the opposite sex? Just kiss his ex.
No, you see,
like
he's
maybe
with the special mana or probably or some fucking shit. I don't know.
Yeah, there's probably going to be something like that. So
he's the player character, you know,
I mean,
of
again,
the gacha game.
Again, if we make the Tact Opus Destiny comparison, like nobody likes Tact in that show.
No, he was the least important or interesting part
but
of that.
Also, the show knows that and dunks on him. Like
like
it
Tact
works because
is the
they
butt of
acknowledge
every
that, right?
joke.
Yeah, so like that is not the case here.
And I think that's what it is, right? Is like if you're gonna have like a dirtbag, shit-heel protagonist, they need to be the butt of every joke. They need to be the bottom of the totem pole every time.
Or you just sideline them as much as humanly possible.
Right, yeah.
Sure. If you can't figure out a way to...
keeps failing up.
I need a show... Tact Opus kind of fulfilled this at the time. I want a show that, like, this type of anime fighting in this show, like, I do like this type of action. I just need it in a form that doesn't suck. And it usually is in a form that sucks.
Yes, when everything else around it is hot garbage.
Like, that's the thing.
Trying to
Engage
be
Kiss... is probably neck and neck with Lycroris Recoil for best looking action choreography of the season, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're very different styles, of course.
Yeah, it's
right?
not quite up to Lycroris Recoil, but
Right.
it's good.
Tacto. It's like
Making enjoyable trash is much harder than you'd think.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
skill.
a fine
yeah.
line to walk.
And it's that thing of it is once again as we talk, because we keep comparing it to Tactopus Destiny, it's like when you are given an anime adaptation of a gacha game,
Mm-hmm.
the thing we've noticed time and time again is that you're almost kind of just given a blank check to tell whatever type of story you actually want with the framework
Right.
you've been
It's a
given.
trauma, right?
And we've seen this work out marvelously, Rage of Bahamut Season 1.
Mm-hmm. Season 1.
You know,
Rage of Bahamut Genesis.
We've seen it go horribly, like Rage of Bahamut Season
Rage
2.
of Bahamut versus Soul, yeah.
But and for better or worse, that is what always makes these shows interesting to us, right? Because it's always a coin flip. Like, are you getting a Rage of Bahamut, or are you getting
A Gage
a D-side
A Rage of
trauma raid,
Bahamut.
or a Rage of Bahamut, right?
D-side trauma raid drop in 2022.
Yeah.
I thought
yeah,
you guys
so-
kind of enjoyed that show, though.
Well,
parts.
You did watch the whole
We don't
thing.
have time to get into that.
no, we
Okay,
don't.
all right.
So yeah, I feel like you tweak a few things, this would be fun, and it ain't it.
It ain't it.
Nah.
All right,
Okay.
let's wrap things up. We have to do this. I'm exhausted talking about it, but we have to do it.
Ending with a
baby.
showstopper.
Let's talk about Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. We've already talked about last time in the preview why this is important to us, so I don't necessarily think we need to rehash all
No,
that.
I think we can just get into our thoughts.
Look at how they
Um,
massacred my boy.
I'm sorry,
we-
Iro.
Holy
we
shit.
thought we knew this was going to be bad. I don't know if any of us were prepared.
We didn't think it was going to be this bad.
I will
Like,
say
this...
that I think that they showed all the worst shit in the trailer, so kind of the opposite of how trailers are meant to work.
When even
Did
the
they
show-
mangaka
did they show the
is
tweeting?
out here
Did they-
tweeting, why does it
Yeah.
look like this?
I mean,
No,
I
you
think that
fucked up.
sort of also reveals how little influence he
Yeah.
actually has over.
Oh yeah,
the
no,
process.
like
Mhm.
the thing is that unless you got an agent who is literally willing to fight tooth and nail for you, or you have written a real
Mhm.
multi-million-dollar selling franchise,
Thing is, it's because
you don't get a say.
Thing is, Planet
Yeah,
Width
I mean-
was also low budget, but he was more directly involved in Planet Width.
Yeah,
I mean,
God,
Planet
I
Width-
can't believe Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer is making me go look at
Wow,
Planet
Width
and
looked
go,
great
man,
compared to this shit.
wow.
Planet
Like,
Width at least
Yes.
looked like an average, competent
Yeah.
made
we would have
anime
been
made by
happy if
professionals.
Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer
Yeah.
looked like Planet Width.
Just give me 100 more ships.
I mean, more personally, Planet Width also knew how to deploy its limited resources for maximum effect.
Yes, I mean, this is
This is
All right, but
I don't
look,
know if
yeah,
it was
point is,
time. I don't know if it was money.
yeah.
They did not
Holy
have the
shit.
resources.
Yeah. Iro, do you want to have the
just look,
floor? It
Lucifer
is-
and this camera, the anime adaptation looks like ass. It's poorly adapted. It's almost stunning how much of a mess it is. I can't believe that this happened. It's
Not like this.
Just
not like
not
this.
like this. It's like that's
Yeah,
basically
no,
how I
it's-
feel. Like
Like
I-
we can't
so
even
I-
joke. This is a project we have joked about since literally 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Since
We
2012.
can't relitigate all of that again. We
I
just
know,
have to
but-
talk about what we thought of the show.
yeah, and you know what I think about the show is that it looks like ass, and they fucked it up.
It's just it's so
Yeah.
uninspired. There's never any effort to go
It
beyond.
shouldn't have been made.
Yeah,
Like,
if we were
Gel,
gonna get this,
you know what?
don't bother.
Gel, I'm gonna tell you right now. I want you to post that, in the blog post, or you can even put it at the end of this podcast.
Okay.
Just put somewhere that guitar riff you made in 5 minutes.
Okay. I'll put it in the show notes. Yes.
All right, because what I'm about to say is I think we can all talk about how it's such an incompetent adaptation. They fucked up everything. But here's the thing that's really galling about Lucifer the Biscuit Hammer is it doesn't even try, even in its intent.
Right.
It
Right,
it
that's
doesn't
the
even
thing,
make the right choices.
There are no
Like-
nobody made a creative choice.
Right.
There's no
Yeah.
attempt to reframe anything for
Right.
for an animated context. It is just boom, boom, basic shot choice, half length, tight in, full
It's the
length.
most half-assed thing in the world.
Yeah, like just kind of like a real my first film school project thing.
Like, look, I lost sleep over how bad the Golden Kamui anime was. They tried. The OP and ED of Golden Kamui are great. They at least tried. They had they made an attempt to adapt that story. What's like so infuriating about Lucifer the Biscuit Hammer is
fucking phoned in. Like, just
they don't
care.
So like, to use the Golden Kamui comparison, while that anime was not great production wise, I still got the impression that the creators understood what that manga was about, or perhaps even read it, let's say. Like they knew what like the show was going for, even if they didn't have the means to reproduce it. And there are a lot of people that actually like that anime.
Yeah, and based on everything I've seen, they picked it up in later seasons. Like,
right, it does eventually. Like, the thing we've joked is that once Golden Kamui stopped being about fighting animals and became more about fighting people, like suddenly those like huge issues kind of disappeared, because like even on a low to average budget, you can still portray human fighting a lot easier than animals.
And in the case of Biscuit Hammer, they have no idea like what kind of tone and mood and whatever the show is supposed to have.
It's not that they don't have any idea of what tone. They don't have any idea of what tone is. It doesn't have the right tone because it doesn't have tone.
Right, let's just get into it, all right? Like, the fucking OP and ED of this show fucking suck. The music is garbage.
That's largely beyond the control of the production crew, but yes, they do suck.
But, like, there's no animation. They pan over the art and then show stock footage.
I thought G was talking about the music.
Well, I am. Like, I mean, you're right that, yes, I know that the studio doesn't have a direct say in the music, but someone does. But someone does, right? And that's what's so look, I know that on some level now we are getting angry because we are talking about our headcanon version of the Biscuit Hammer anime, but it's literally called Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. There's a thing in that manga called the Blues Drive Monster. All right, like, it is a story heavily influenced and informed by that style of early 2000s kind of melancholic alt rock.
Yeah,
and they don't even try, man. Gel, the reason why I said you need to post the thing is that, like, Gel, you said like in 5-10 minutes you were able to strum.
Yes, I literally picked up to explain what we're talking about. As a experiment, I picked up my guitar and I'm like, I'm going to just start playing some nostalgic sounding power chords from the 90s.
All right, so I do want to make like at least one defense here, which is that you played those things on a thin line Telecaster, which has to be worth at least twice the whole budget of
That is fair. Yeah. I probably paid more for that guitar than the budget of this anime, but surely someone out in Japan has a Telecaster that they can lend somebody. But yeah,
look, if a story is named after a song, you should probably get the song.
And even if you can't, like, that should give you some indicator of like what sound to go for, right? And I'll say this, because I don't think you guys watched episode 2, right?
No,
I skimmed
like episode 2. I feel like at that point the music choices were actively harming the story.
Oh no!
Oh, now we need to watch episode 2.
It flips over from just being like nothing to like, your choice here is now actively harming the story.
What, are they like playing the fucking like Resident Evil DualShock Edition soundtrack over it?
I feel like it's the equivalent of like how would I explain this?
Because I mean, episode 1's music was just the most generic, anime music, right?
The choice of music and how they cut it and shift like dramatically between like the bits, the serious bits, and everything. It's awful.
Man.
Which, spoilers, things don't get any better in episode 2.
It's been a while since we've seen a legitimate, this must have been a tax scam anime.
God, right.
Jeez.
But this has the vibe.
Yeah,
I would have put a bullet in. They're from the same magazine, which is why I'm saying this. I would have put a bullet in the new Trigun to get any of that money on this. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, would you accept a Studio Orange version of
Absolutely.
Biscuit Anime?
Absolutely.
Okay, I mean, all right. Here's
over
as someone
this,
who
yes.
really loves, as someone who really loves Trigun, I know why. I know.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I've got a pitch here. Okay, so Yuhi wakes up, but instead of throwing the Lizard Knight out of the window, he eats the Lizard Knight's foot instead.
No, okay. So the thing I'll say is, I would, Iro, for your sake, I would make that trade because here's the thing: Trigun's popular. People like Trigun. Naitao is a respected mangaka who has probably, made his fortune off of Trigun. Blood Blockade Battlefront is a well-liked manga that is still going. There is a great Trigun anime already out there. It's not, it's not a one-to-one adaptation of the manga, but
I will say that Trigun is perhaps a bit less popular in Japan than it is in the West. But
you're probably right.
It's well known.
I think you're right. I'm not trying to imply it's up there with saying
I'm sure Naitao made
but
some nice money off of it.
yeah, that's what I mean, right? Yeah. Is that Naitao had his time in the sun. Trigun had its time in the sun. It has fans. There are people who like it and enjoyed it for what it was. And so, whereas Mizukami has never had that shot, right? And that's the thing that's frustrating, right? Is it feels like Mizukami is never going to get that shot.
It just keeps getting screwed.
Right?
And
so, like, I would happily make that trade for you, Iro. Like, Mizukami needs it more than Naitao does.
It is frustrating because, like, I told you guys when watching the first episode, I still got a little excited when Samadari gives her speech. Like,
it's still those moments. It's still those characters.
Yeah, you can't dilute the positive qualities that much. But...
You can do it pretty fucking hard though.
Yeah, but like, and it is because I've read the manga and I know what's coming, of course. Yeah. But like, just trust us, folks. There's a good story in here. Like, it's
in its original form. Don't keep watching the anime. Just go read the manga, please.
Yeah, go read the manga. I mean, there's a lot. If they can even, give any kind of encouragement to people to read the manga, I suppose that would be nice. Yeah. But
if even 100 more people like pick up a volume of the manga,
right.
Yeah, I mean it's and a lot of it started because I haven't really thought about it in a long time, and I was starting to actually think about what happens in the manga. Like, it's a good story about like the ordinary people getting what I would describe as modest superpowers, dealing with this like cosmic level problem. Which I think if we're gonna reference Planet With, there's a little bit of that in Planet With too, right? Yeah. Like that aspect of it, and it's characters that are given time to grow and develop, which they're not going to give them time in the anime, but in the manga,
stuff in episode 2 that like gets paid that would get paid off on like 14 to 15 episodes later.
Yes,
that's like in the original form of the story, like it's a huge payoff, because you see how far they've come from the beginning of the story, and it's just like
right.
And of course, I see that stuff in the anime, and I remember how it is right in the manga, and I'm like, yeah, this is a good story. But then also just it's not a good adaptation.
But when it's happening in episode 2 and hasn't had the time to build up to things,
and no matter how good a story is, like if it's not presented well or if it's handled clumsily, like,
and you're cutting, big chunks of it.
Yeah,
it's a story that needs time to build, and
totally.
They're probably not going to, from what we've seen, again in episode 2 especially. Like, I don't think they're going to give it time to build either. So, just read the manga.
Yeah, just
take our word for it. Read the manga.
We've had this rallying cry, like again back with Golden Kamui. We've had this rallying cry now that Hinamatsuri probably isn't getting a season 2. B-Stars, the rallying cry because no season 2 of Dorohedoro, and now with Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, we say it once again.
That's the conclusion.
Read the manga.
That's the conclusion of us watching anime. Go read manga.
Yeah. All right.
And then after reading manga, we'll say, go to sleep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what we're going to end up talking about next time. I don't know.
Lots of stuff on the bubble this season, I think.
Yeah.
Some might say it's time for Elgon.
Well, there might be some backlog talk next episode.
Lead me now to where you are.
Yeah, so we'll see. But that's going to do it for now. So let's wrap things up with our housekeeping. You can check us out at theglorioblog.com. Once again, you can go read all of our first looks on these and many other shows that we watched from the summer season. You can follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher. And you can check us out on YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, leave us 5-star reviews, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. And we'll catch everybody next time.
10 more years.